on the left-hand side and down a little bit below what you would call 3 o'clock, perhaps at about 4 o'clock. And the venting and the particles that were being seen out the number 1 window, which again is on that side. So we had pretty concrete evidence that something had happened back in the service module. I don't think anybody fully understands it, but it appeared that something gave way, causing a problem with the fuel cell. Something in the cryogenic tanking gave way, causing then a problem with the fuel cell, probably a physical impact of some kind. And we had about that kind of situation on our hands. Now, Gene Kranz's team was on at the time, and their concern was to, without taking any steps that would jeopardize or compromise the condition of the vehicle, to stabilize the situation as best we could, so that they tried a number of configurations with the jets in order to have proper attitude control. Plus, we were continuing to monitor and go over the electrical system in the hopes of finding something in the instrumentation, but also with the end in mind to figure out what to do about the configuration of the electrical system. Shortly after that time, it became apparent that cryogenic tank with the oxygen in it, there are 2 tanks, 2 with oxygen, 2 with hydrogen. It was apparent that the pressure in the second tank, that is tank number 1, was going down. And this started about the time of the first tank going to 0, but it came down at a very, very slow rate. As a matter of fact, it worked for about 3 hours. We had pressure in the tank enough to feed and make a fuel cell operate for about 3 hours. While the tank was going down, while the pressure in the tank was going down, we performed a number of things in order to attempt to save that tank. The cryogenic oxygen is brought together in pipes and then fed to the fuel cells. The plumbing of the fuel cells is such that if you had a bad leak in one of them, that is a line open or something, it's possible it would operate in such a fashion that all the oxygen would go, find that leak, and go on out. At that time, then, we shut off what we call the reactant valves, which are the hydrogen and oxygen to a given fuel cell, in an attempt to stop flow to a position in the plumbing where a leak might be and where all the oxygen might have been going. That actually was to no avail. We did that in each cell, 1 by 1, picking the worst cell first, and at no time did that change the leak rate. And of course, once we close the reactant valves, we very quickly lose the fuel cell and it is no longer available. We were reluctant to take that step, but it was our last-ditch attempt to isolate a leak. It did not work. At that time, we moved 2 of the pilots into the lunar module in order to start preparing the vehicle in what I guess we would call a lifeboat mode. We discussed this amongst ourselves in the past, how we would use the lunar module to come on back. Let me say one thing about the trajectory at this time. Of all the times on the way out to the moon, this is probably the most difficult time for a problem like this to occur, because the delta V, or the propulsive maneuver that would be required to come back to Earth directly without going around the moon, had become excessively large. For example, we could have come back with a 6,000 foot per second burn out of the service module. We don't have anywhere near that out of the LEM. But in order to do that, we would have had to dump the lunar module. We would not have been able to get that kind of delta V with the lunar module attached. So that quickly became out of the question with the developing problem we had with the cryogenic oxygen. Quickly, it became clear to us after we had time to review it that the course of action was to retain the lunar module and to swing on around the moon and to prepare to do a maneuver which would in effect shorten the return time back to the Earth. We got acquisition, as I say, we moved, 2 of the pilots moved into the lunar module at about 57 hours and a half, and about 25 minutes later we got acquisition on the LEM, which meant that the telemetry system had been turned on. The first entry to the LEM was primarily one of just making it livable, the batteries, the power, the glycol loop flowing, etc. At this time it was obvious that the command module cryogenics were effectively lost because we had done all that we could. We wanted to retain an alignment